What is up, everyone? It is I. It is I, the illustrious Brittany here. But of course, now you could see. Now you can kind of see me, albeit technically it's not really. Fuck. Sorry about that. Anyway, now you can kind of see me, so that's good. It's just for the safety of everybody and me. This will have to do. After all, strangers. You don't know. Basically, you don't know what's gonna happen if you fully show your face. Anyways, that's the whole point. Anyways, but back to the point. So this will be kind of kind of a video that I wanted to make, especially for two games that. Well, a kind of a semi update. I know. I did mention in my top three, my three commercial failures that I personally enjoy. One of them was the Nokia N-Gage. I didn't bother mentioning that it was kind of a service that Nokia turned it from a handheld after it was discontinued in 2005 to then shortly after changing it to a service. Kind of like, okay, think of it kind of like, you know how you would have like you now have Google Play and the App Store on your Androids and iPhones nowadays. Well, think of that, but it's Symbian OS or Symbian operating system for phones that use that kind of operating system back in the day. Back in 2008, 2009. Now, I will say this. I didn't mention that because that whole segment would have taken a lot longer than intended. And before you know it, it would have gone on for far too long. So that's why I didn't bring that up. But now I am. And why is that? Because it's important to two games I want to bring up today. Because I just beat them. In both yesterday and today. And those two are Metal Gear Solid Mobile, although they called it Metal Gear Solid Mobile for it, but I digress. And Resident Evil Degeneration. Yes. Somehow they made... Capcom thought that it was a good idea to... Well, I mean, it's not a bad idea, but I'm saying, like, it was an interesting idea for Capcom to think, hey, why don't we make a game based off kind of a deleted scene from that Resident Evil Degeneration movie, which was like a CG animated film of Resident Evil, which is somehow a better adaptation than the live-action Resident Evil movies. I mean, if you like them, good for you, but I personally love Resident Evil Degeneration because it kind of captures that B-movie-esque thing that Resident Evil is supposed to be, to me. Anyway, but regardless, the game, right. So Resident Evil Degeneration, the game, that was not only released on N-Gage 2.0, but it was also on iPhone, and yeah, you get the rest. But anyways, yes, it was ported to iPhones months later. But anyway, that's not the point. Well, it kind of is. Anyways, so regardless, I kind of loved Resident Evil Degeneration, and I'll probably explain. Now, the controls are a bit intuitive because it is an older not cell phone, but it is an older phone game, and you're gonna have to use a keypad and whatnot. But if you're emulating it on Android, it should be no problem. Once you get used to it, it'll be no problem. If you can find a way to do so, but hey, I'm sure you'll find a way. I mean, most of us that are tech savvy find a way, so when there's a will, there is a way. But anyways, so once you do, you probably will get used to the controls, and sooner or later, for both this and Metal Gear Solid Mobile. But anyway, for Resident Evil Degeneration, I eventually got used to the controls, and it's not too bad. It's really simple. Your keypad or your arrow keys on said phone, and then in the middle is fire or the 5 key. And 0 key is to reload and yada yada, that kind of stuff. Your standard stuff, technically, for a phone like this. Oh, goddamn. Sorry about that again. Anyway. But, anyway. So, right. So, the plot of Resident Evil Degeneration, the game, is sort of like, again, like I said, that deleted scene from the movie, well, what was supposed to be in the movie, where Leon and Claire were supposed to save people in, like, the VIP lounge and whatnot. It was supposed to be that, but I guess they scrapped that in the movie, and they thought that would be the plot of the game. Which, I mean, if you love Resident Evil Degeneration, the movie, a lot, you'll kind of pick up what they're putting down there. So, yeah. Especially since the N-Gage version, the N-Gage 2.0 version, doesn't actually have the cinematic of the plane crashing down when the iOS port actually does, which is kind of funny. But that's probably because Symbian OS can't simply handle a lot more than what iPhone could handle at the time. But remember, this was 2008, so it is what it is. Anywho, but yeah, I mean, but that said deleted scene would have consisted of Leon Kennedy running errands. Yes, Leon Kennedy, which you're playing as the whole game. I mean, hey, if you're used to it in Resident Evil 4, it should be no different in Resident Evil Degeneration. So you're going around doing some errands and, just, basically kind of fighting shit everywhere. And then basically you get to meet Berserker, or not Berserker, bioweapon Berserker kind of zombies later in the game, which I thought was pretty cool. And the final one's supposed to be, I don't know what that's supposed to be, but yeah, the final one, yeah. I'm not gonna really spoil much because, if you want to play the game yourself, cool, go ahead. If there is any spoilers, But yeah, that was it for Resident Evil Degeneration, and overall, I really thought it was a decent Resident Evil, kind of a semi-sequel to Resident Evil 4, sort of a RE 4.5. So I was like, hey, cool, that's nice. And then Metal Gear Solid Mobile. Now, Metal Gear Solid Mobile is kind of sort of a semi-sequel to Resident Evil. Metal Gear Solid 1, kind of, sort of. It was like, wait, Metal Gear Solid 1? Technically a sequel to that? I mean, but also before Resident... Damn it, I keep saying Resident Evil. Before Metal Gear Solid 2. Which means there's a lot... There might be some spoiler-heavy stuff for Metal Gear Solid 2 if you haven't played that yet. I mean, it's a 20-year-old game. How have you not played that yet? It's like a well over 20-year-old game. How have you not played that yet? Anyway. So, yeah, Metal Gear Solid Mobile is sort of an in-between sequel between Metal Gear Solid 1 and Metal Gear Solid 2. So you'll have no problem... If you played both of those games, you're going to be right at home with Metal Gear Solid Mobile. You'll have no problem with that. And somehow, I beat this one, but for some reason can't beat Metal Gear Solid 2. What the hell is up with me? I know, I need to be like, on my grind set with that. But, I think the story of Metal Gear Solid Mobile, for most of the game, is just Snake coming to find out he's in a simulation the whole time, and ooh, mysterious shit is happening, ooh. And also, again, I'm not gonna really spoil what else. Again, I'm not gonna spoil all the Metal Gear Solid 2 stuff, because that requires you to play Metal Gear Solid 2 in order to understand that, so not gonna spoil that. Ooh, play Metal Gear Solid 2 to find out, ooh. But overall, I don't mind that either. It's just, essentially, it feels like the gameplay was like, essentially Metal Gear Solid 1, the PS1 version, the original PS1 game, ported over to a cell phone, which was a phone that runs Symbian operating systems, which is pretty damn cool for the time, I gotta admit. You all gotta admit, that's actually kind of cool, right? Like, that was actually pretty cool. But other than that, yeah, it's pretty decent for a Symbian operating system game for the most part, and and to me it's a decent Metal Gear Solid game. Another portable Metal Gear Solid game if you want to play that. If you can find a way to play it, this will be a cool one to add. And on top of all the other portable Metal Gear Solid games like Metal Gear Solid 3 on the 3DS. The 3DS is port of Metal Gear Solid 3. Metal Gear Solids 1 and 2 you can also play on the PS Vita if you wanted, via an HD collection, technically. So you could do that too. And then there's all the PSP Metal Gear Solid games and all that stuff that you could play as well. But if you didn't have any of those and you only had a Symbian, a phone that runs a Symbian OS, you could do this one too. And you could really play this one a lot more, as much as I would, to be honest. And hey, that's pretty good. It's pretty good for for a game that's supposed to run on a phone at the time, pretty interesting. Not gonna lie there. And so with that said, yeah, this is and well, I'm not gonna talk much about N-Gage 2.0 service as a whole. That will be a separate video in and of itself. But long story short, I'm happy that I eventually was able to play those games and just beat them from beginning to end. From the beginning to the end. Which, again, they're pretty short games. So I figured this would be a pretty short review because, hey, these two games are pretty short. They're like an hour long each. So in total, if you played them day and day, that would be 2 hours long. 2 hours! On the same day, no less. So, hey, that would be pretty cool, right? Pretty cool for games that were meant for phones at the time. So with that said, yeah, that is it for this review. This short review of the game. Oh, and what are my ratings for Resident Evil Degeneration and Metal Gear Solid Mobile? To me, Resident Evil Degeneration, from what I've played so far, from what I played the entire game, I mean, beginning to end, I will say it kind of felt like something was going on, but also nothing was going on at the same time. So with that said, but the gameplay was really awesome though. Not gonna lie there. So really fun. So I would give that game at least about a 4 out of 5. Like 3.5 out of 5 actually. It's got some problems to it. Like sometimes the frame rate will kind of jitter a little bit, but it could just be my emulator. But you know, and then sometimes like it'll be kind of it'll be a little. It's a little janky, but it is what it is. As for Metal Gear Solid Metal Gear Solid Mobile, I would give it a 4 out of 5. To me, it's not the perfect Metal Gear experience, obviously not. But I mean, it's not really perfect. I mean, nothing's perfect. But I'm gonna be fair and give it at least a 4 out of 5 because you know it's not perfect, no. But it has its problems. It has its fair share of problems, like you can't exactly dynamically move, up to right in a smooth way, because, that's kind of the problem with that. But hey, it was what it was, right? So as far as controls, it was a little clunky to get used to, but it takes time. And then on top of that, what are some other issues? Like, frame rate wise, it's actually pretty good. Well, it was still able to keep stable. It didn't crash on me once, which was good. It never crashed on me. In fact, both of these games never crashed on me once, so that's good. So, yeah. And, I guess that's it for these two games. So, yeah. Yeah, that's all I can say about these two games. They're really fun, but really short, which is expected for games built on a phone. They were supposed to be short, because you're on like a bus or a train ride or something. I mean, that, or you're going to a store, but you're a passenger and you're going to a store while you're on a bus or a train or something. Or whatever, wherever you're going to, whatever important stuff you have to go to, whatever. But overall, yeah, they're fun, short games you could play, I don't know, anytime if you want, to be honest. That's the beauty of it. That's the beauty of portable games. You can just play them at any time you want. Hey, cool. Flip it out and play it. Flip it out and play it. Yay. Anyway, but that sounds awkward. Anyway, but back to this. It's yeah. Anyway, so yeah, that's it for this video. Wow, this didn't turn out what it did. Anyways, rate, comment, subscribe, and like, comment, and subscribe, and ring the notification bell to get notified on any new uploads I make. And with that said, this has been it. So this has been your faithful You're faithful. Yours truly, signing out. Goodbye.